Hello, career changers and entrepreneurs. It's Rikke Hansen from Rikke.me here. And I want to talk about resilience because I've had a lot of you asking me to talk about resilience, especially with everything going on in the world right now. And more specifically, how do you get up every day right now? And how do you keep going with your career change, with your own business efforts, with your transition into a new job, career, business, whatever your unique situation might be, when there's so much ambiguity and this ever unfolding pandemic? How do you stay mentally strong? How do you get more mentally strong? That, my friend, is exactly where resilience comes in. So what I want to talk about today is what you can personally do to keep going. And that's an important bit because so many things can seem out of our hands at the moment, but I can promise you that a lot of things are not. And those are the ones that are absolutely vital that you know and focus on so you can keep sane and you can keep going. We'll also look behind what resilience actually is, including some neuroscience geek out. And then I'll share with you 3 important resilience habits that if you're not doing them right now, you definitely want to start doing them because they're going to work wonders for your career or business transition, okay? Now, one of the most important things I want to share with you in this episode is how you can reframe what's going on right now to potentially turn it into one of the best things that ever happened to your career change, your life, your business, full stop. So keep listening. Resilience is such a powerful concept. And whether there's a pandemic or not, it is key to know about. But it's especially important now. And it's also an amazing opportunity for actually developing it. I'll get into that in a moment. This is a really unique time in history where you can fast track your learning. But I really want us to come at this for taking your power back, because I'm not sure about you, but I think a lot of us just feel like we've been hijacked in terms of, we just feel like so many things out of our hands right now. And I really want to help you understand that you don't have to feel that way. And especially when it comes to your career change, your efforts to start a business or to move into a different job or to make your dreams come true, you do not have to put them on hold. Now, you probably heard my last recording a couple of weeks ago all around COVID-19 and career change, where I shared some of the principles as to how to go about this. If you haven't, make sure you go to my website. It's Rikke.me. That's Rikke.me. You can listen to it over there. That will give you some real pointers as well. In this particular episode, I just want to focus on resilience and hear why that is so important because, you know, now at this stage where I'm recording this on the 20th of April, we kind of know that it's no longer going to be a short-term thing. You know, when I did the last recording, we thought, well, maybe, 3 weeks indoors and then we'll all go back to normal. What's actually happening now is this is turning into an ongoing, ever-developing scenario. It's going to take longer than we think, especially bearing in mind how long it's potentially going to be to find and design a safe vaccine. So now the discussion is no longer that kind of, we're just going to spend 3 weeks sitting on the sofa, watching Netflix, eating pizza, or the flip side, which is like, I'm going to read all the books and learn all the languages. And now it's more about, or my take on this is, now it's really about how can we find a sustainable way to keep going? Because this will take longer than we think, but still creating our dreams, living our lives. How can we continue going? What's so important, this is really what my entire purpose for being here is all about. How can we continue to create a career or business we love? How can we find a sustainable way to keep doing that during these times that are not just going to be short term? How can we live into this new world, so to say, that we're all creating right now? And in the process, not go bonkers, not exhaust ourselves or eat all of the cookies, right? Because that's the challenge right now. So look at this from the point of view of how can we be role models for what it takes to create a sustainable solution for how to live and work through these times? How can we consciously choose to take back the personal and mental power that we probably feel like has been hijacked recently from us? And how can you turn this pandemic into something that can actually benefit your career change, benefit your business, benefit your life? How can you turn this into a learning and growth opportunity? So it's not just about getting through, but growing through this. Stay curious, my friend. This is such an important time to stay curious rather than just go into judgment mode. Now, I will say, and I obviously, because of the times that we live in, you're listening to this, and I'm really happy you're here. I don't know what your personal scenario is. Clearly, if your scenario right now is one of pure survival or a lot of health issues, then maybe you want to come back to this recording when you're ready to hear it in case it's very triggering. But for a lot of us, and also you, even if you're ill, when you recover, which I hope, there still is a good recovery rate. And I think that's also an important thing to look at, the recovery rate, not just the numbers. We need to find a way to get through this. But because I'm going to be talking about resilience and mental health and staying strong, I just want to say up front that if you're someone who's experiencing severe depression, severe anxiety, it's important you seek appropriate professional help. That's not what listening to a recording in this can do. So just so that's clear. But can I just say, good on you for being here. I want to make this worth your time. I have so much good stuff to share with you because here's the deal. This is not just my opinion, even though I do have strong opinions. This is literally everything I'm sharing with you today is stuff that I've already used as a professional career change advisor in my consultancy for the last 15 years with hundreds of private clients and thousands more online. So if you are a mid-career professional in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, then I have already worked for years with people just like you, and they have individually in all this time gone through periods of massive change, devastating personal loss, all those kind of things. But I have found methods for still helping you keep going. So if you're listening to this and you're wondering, not so sure, just listen with an open mind and ask this question. Is this helpful? Is this useful? Take what you need, apply it, and then come back for more. Because one of the things I've really noticed, not just with COVID-19, but over the last 15 years with all of my career change clients, is that it's so important to spend time on the mental game. You can have a great business plan. You can have a great job search strategy. You can have a great approach, practically. But if your mind is not on board, if you don't own it, and you don't stay mentally strong, then, it's not going to come together. That is why resilience is such a key skill to develop. I will also say right now is I could easily have stayed quiet and not record this. There's so much mudslinging right now when you put out your voice, but I really want to help you. I want to be brave for you because I know that if you're someone who's wanting to change careers or wondering if you need a job change or career change or what business you should start or whether you should start a different business, then you have so many questions right now and I can actually help. So I'm recording this. There might be people who don't agree. There might be people who are angry, but I know this stuff works and I want to share it with you. So all I'm asking is, if you're finding it helpful, please share this recording. People need to know that there are ways of keeping going. You don't have to stop. You don't have to stagnate. But we have to find a sustainable solution. That's what I want to share here. So if you enjoy this recording, you're finding it helpful, please let me know. I'm over at rikke.me. That's rikke.me. Send me an email. I am at rikke@rikke.me. That's rikke@rikke.me. You can also find me over on Instagram, the Rikke Hansen. Also, let me know, what are the most burning things, the most burning questions going through your head right now? What do you want me to talk about? All of these recordings, all the videos I've done over the years, they're all based on the most frequently asked questions. I want to help you. You do not have to do this alone, and you can keep going. Okay, so let's talk about what you can personally do to keep going. We'll look at what resilience actually is. I'll also do a little bit of neuroscience geek out, and then I'll share 3 key habits that you can use. Now, let's start with the good news. You do not have to be born resilient. It's a dynamic learning process. Resilience is something you can learn. It's a skill that you can develop over a lifetime. It's like a muscle. The more you train it, the better it gets. But it's also an ongoing thing. You can lose it as well. So you want to start the training if you haven't already done so. But the good news is, you don't have to be born that way. You can learn to become more resilient, just like you can learn to become more confident. And one of the best things about COVID-19 is that right now, this is a real-time boot camp to develop resilience. because it's a real-life boot camp in change, uncertainty, and difficulties that are literally providing the perfect conditions for developing resilience if you choose to accept the task. So what's the task? Here's the bad news. You only develop resilience by recovering from difficulties, right? So that's the important bit. The definition of resilience that a lot of people agree on is the ability to recover quickly from difficulties. There's also a biological point of view that it's all about getting your nervous system back to homeostasis quickly. We'll get into that a little bit later. But that means that this is not going to be, oh, you just need to take more bubble baths or more pedicures or lose yourself in your Xbox. You know, it's not going to be one of those fluffy freaking approaches, because that's not helping anyone when shizzle really hits the fan. So even though, by all means, continue doing that, I want to give you something really solid here. This is not about reading a book about resilience or, it's not an armchair exercise. You need skin in the game. So it won't necessarily all be fun, but I can promise you that it will be, if you take up that challenge, it'll be one of the most meaningful things you will ever have done. And it's one of the best ways to get to know and trust yourself in the process. And my friend, I am sure you agree that knowing yourself and trusting yourself is key in a world where right now it can be so easy to outsource your view of the world or how you're feeling to whatever the news story is of the day, whether it's the stock market, the job market, the death rate, whatever it is. Stress scroll, anyone? So one of the most important things I want to share with you today that I really want you to get is that you have a choice to reframe what's going on right now to potentially make it one of the best things that ever happened to your career change, to your life, full stop. And what I'm really, and as I say, and I'll just say this once, just so it's clear, I'm not saying things are not hard right now. I'm saying we have to look at how we can get the best out of the situation without going bonkers in the process, okay? So I'm not minimizing the pain that anyone, including myself and my family, are going through right now. What I am telling all of my career change clients right now is to focus on the long game. This is not just about getting through this and then going back to normal. That's not going to happen. I think we all know that by now. We're past the stage of, quickly go back, because even going back is a whole different thing. So it's almost like now here we are. We've been dropped into the future, right? We're working from home. We're getting all our deliveries online. We got our community online, our fitness online. It's almost like all these things we sort of knew were going to happen during the 2020s. They're happened now, and here we are, right? So this is a chance for those skills that we really should have picked up and prepared ourselves for anyway. Now this is a crash course in them. And this is especially the case with resilience, because resilience is really one of the most important skills you need to be competitive and to live and to make sense of this crazy new world. And really, I think one of the best definitions also of resilience and the importance of it that I've ever come across was Yuval Noah Harare. You probably know him. He's all over the news right now. He wrote books like Homo Deus, Homo Sapiens, 20 Lessons for the 21st Century. He's a historian who also talks a lot about the future and a great sense of humor guy. And a couple of years ago, he came out with a new book, and it was called 20 Lessons for the 21st Century. So he did a lot of events and interviews, and people came asking him because a lot of it was about the future. And they were like, so Yuval, what is the most important skill we can learn? Is it Chinese? Is it coding? Is it decoding the genetic code? Or what is it? And he just he always had the same answer, even though he used slightly different vocabulary. But basically, his answer always was mental flexibility or resilience. And literally the way he defined that was the ability to embrace the unknown and keep your emotional balance. I think that's a beautiful way of looking at it as well. In addition to the overcoming and coming out stronger, it's also the ability to embrace the unknown and keep your emotional balance. Would you like some of that? Yes, me for sure. That is just so think about that. That's really what we're talking about when we're talking about building and developing resilience. But the reason why I'm inserting 3 habits at the end of this is I want something that's sustainable for you, because when when journalists, they ask Yuval, so what do you do to develop this mental flexibility? He was like, well, I do Vipassana meditation for 2 hours a day, and I don't have a mobile phone, and I go on a Vipassana retreat for at least a month a year. Okay, I'll make sure that I'll give you something that's maybe a little bit less aspirational you can do, by the way. Okay, now, this is such an important point to talk about, the future work, mental flexibility, resilience, because we are, already now, and that's just going to increase with everything that's happening with the job market, the business world. We are going to have to recalibrate, reskill, relearn, reinvent. But if we don't have all of ourselves on board, especially our minds, it's going to be hard. A lot, so that's really why I really want to recommend that even if this is going to be hard and uncomfortable, it's going to be worth it, because you are investing in yourself and in the future by accepting this challenge of keeping going and embracing the unknown, or at least dealing with the unknown. I think that embracing the unknown might be a little bit pushing it, but dealing with the unknown as it comes along and still keeping your shizzle together. I mean, literally, I cannot tell you, in the last 15 years of my work as a career transition advisor, that is so often what the conversation has come down to. How do you keep going when you feel really uncomfortable? So don't worry, we'll get into a lot of that. Let's look a little bit deeper at the research, the resiliency research. Now, resilience kind of represents a bit of a challenge for psychologists. It's not something you can just do a test and here's your resiliency score, in case you are a fellow overachiever wondering about that. Whether you can be said to have resilience or not very much depends on the way your life unfolds, and most importantly, the way you choose to respond to it and interpret it. As in, what do you interpret it to mean, and how do you choose to respond to it? So if you're someone who had a really cushy life and not a lot of adversity, and you might have a well-paid job and, an easy ride, then we probably won't know if you've actually had resilience. But if you had adversity and you had hard things happening, then we can look at, well, did you give up? Did you surrender, or did you actually rise above your circumstances? That's very much the deciding factor. So the proof would be in your life story, in the pudding. We can look at how you reacted. And here's an important point. And a lot of studies with children especially show this. This is not an IQ test. This is not about how gifted you are or how high an IQ you have, even though there's certain socioeconomic factors, but this is really about are you able to effectively make the best of what you've got in the situation that you are in? That's the major difference. Another major difference was that people who showed resilience, they had what has been given this name, internal locus of control. What that means is they believed that they and not their circumstances affected their achievements. So they believe they had the power of choosing to rise above their circumstances and even grow and come out better in the process. So, and this is a phrase you might have heard me throw around kind of a lot recently, they really believe they are the captain of their own ships, even when the sea's rough. As opposed to those who didn't show resilience, who weren't resilient, they very much had what's called an external locus of control. So they believed that most factors were out of their hands. They were not able to decide the final outcome. They had very little input and power. Most of it is out to factors outside of themselves and external environments out of their control. So, well, they might have a ship, but the sea's rough. There's nothing they can do. It won't really matter very much. That's that's very much simplifying it, but you get the difference. So here's my challenge to you. Do a check-in with yourself right now. How are you feeling in the blanks with what's happening with COVID-19? What are you making it mean? And how are you reacting to it? How much in control and power do you feel? With the impact it might have on your career change, your life, the things that matter. Do you believe that you have an internal locus of control or an external locus of control? Are you not just are you, but are you also behaving like the captain of your own ship? Or is the sea really the captain? Here's the thing. Yes, I agree. I read the FT, I read the Wall Street Journal. There are a lot of things outside of our hands right now. That's not what I'm talking about. There will always, that's the human condition, we're not that special. There will always be factors outside of your control. That's not what I'm talking about here. I am talking about how you choose to respond to the things you can control and what you make them mean. Because in your little personal world, there is so much that is still up to you, and that's important. It's also important, if you're finding this hard, don't despair. We're not predetermined. You can change. If right now you're thinking, but I probably do fall into the external locus camp, don't worry. You can change perspective. You can change your mind. You can act and tell yourself a different story. Here's one of the most glorious things that I have discovered in the last number of years when I started studying neuroscience, is that it's this concept called neuroplasticity. There's a great book called The Elastic Mind, where literally what's so amazing about humans as a species is we literally have this ability to change our mind, to rewire our thoughts, rewire our patterns, can recondition ourselves. So this is not predetermined. This is something you can choose to change. You can change the perspective by telling yourself a different story about what this means to you. You can change your mind. I'll get into that, especially in the first habit, and I'll keep talking about it. Perception means, how do you conceptualize an event, as in what's happening to you? What is the story or the meaning you are giving it? That's what's important. You can choose. If your story right now is not helping your career change, your business, your dreams, you can choose to tell a different story and have everything change. That's really the beauty. So not only will you develop resilience, you will also keep going. And if you're, by the way, side note, if you're really exhausted right now, I totally get it. We will talk about a habit that would help you do this sustainably. And if not, there is also, go back and listen to the COVID-19 and Career Change podcast I did. Now, research also shows, to do with perception, is that resilient people would perceive the difficult event or whatever it was as a challenge, versus those who didn't show resilience actually showed it as a threat to them personally. So what that shows us is that the experience isn't inherent in the event, it's inside of you. It's how you choose personally to perceive it and how you choose to respond. Do you see it as a challenge, an opportunity to grow, an opportunity to problem solve, or do you see it as a threat, as in something that's literally a showstopper? Just because you live through something that has the potentially traumatizing event does not mean that you're destined to suffer forever, unless that's potentially how you decide or unconsciously perceive it. So over to you. What do you want COVID-19 to mean for your career change? Do you want to frame this adversity as a challenge for you to become more flexible, to develop resilience, to get even more fired up, and to learn, to grow, come out even better, even stronger, even more competitive? Or are you going to take it as a threat, a personal insult, that this is really going to mean that we all going to hell in a handbasket, there won't be any jobs, you won't be any creative ideas, you can't change careers, you can't start your own business, you can't, Your choice. But here's my suggestion. What if you decided, because remember, you can tell a different story. What if you decided that COVID-19, as much, and I agree, as much as it sucks, it's painful, it's inconvenient, painful. You are going to make it one of the best things that ever happened to you in terms of being a real life opportunity to develop the kind of skills, the kind of life, the kind of career, the kind of business that you knew that you really should have done a while ago, but you just never got around because life was probably too easy or you were too distracted. And you take this as the challenge to look for the opportunities, the learning, the challenge to grow stronger. This is the conversation I'm having all the time right now inside of your Career Change Map, which is my online program where I help you decide what career or business is right for you right now, how to recalibrate. It's also the conversation I'm having with my one-on-one clients where I'm designing their business with them, is literally how can we turn COVID-19 into a learning opportunity for growth, look at all of the opportunities that are actually coming out of this crisis, an opportunity to be helpful, to be useful, to actually design a real, if you're taking a business example right now, to actually design your business to be perfect for right now, for all of the needs that we have right now, right? That's when things suddenly, you allow yourself more creativity, more problem solving, more personal development, rather than if you go straight into think, oh, it's a threat and it's all over, then you have no ability to access creativity. Okay? It's so important to understand how resilience is built and why it's so important, especially right now because you have the opportunity to do it in real time. You can do hard things and still keep going. That's really the challenge that we all are being given right now. Now, a little bit of neuroscience geekery. Here's something really interesting. And if you are interested in the subject of resilience, I really recommend that you learn more about your nervous system and what's happening on a biological basis when we get all, when we react to things. We all have, as humans, you and I, we all have the same fundamental stress response system. However, resilient people use this system more effectively, and it's all down to how they perceive things. So inside of our brains, we have the prefrontal cortex, and there's a part of the prefrontal cortex that's called the ventromedial prefrontal cortex. It's a very long word. And it's literally responsible for the interpretation of experience. So it interprets whatever experience you're going through, and then it activates the limbic system, particularly the amygdala. And for some people, it overstimulates it. For others, it understimulates it. But for the resilience, it has this ability to quickly spring back to a state of homeostasis or balance. So if you're interested in this, I highly recommend you learn more about neuroscience and specifically this beautiful dance between the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and your amygdala. Now, there's a quote I want to read to you about what's happening biologically. And it's from a book called Stronger, Develop the Resilience You Need to Succeed. It's a book that's written by a Navy SEAL, an entrepreneur, a stress management expert. It's not necessarily the best book on the subject, but it has a really good way of describing what's actually happening biologically. So, beginning of a quote. Human resilience represents a most elegant and ongoing dance between the ventromedial prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. When faced with danger, the ventromedial prefrontal cortex activates the amygdala so as to prepare it to fight, flee, or otherwise resolve the threat. Highly resilient people appear to be able to effectively regulate the amygdala so as to benefit from its activation, but then allow it to quickly recover its baseline activity. This process of recovery to a steady state is what Cannon call the reestablishment of homeostasis. End of quote. Then there's a little bit in between, and then next quote. The person who is not resilient experiences homeostatic failure, during which the ventromedial prefrontal cortex interpretations either overstimulate or understimulate the limbic system. The result of overstimulation can be anxiety, panic attacks, confusions, reduced problem solving capacity, irritability, anger, or even violence. For example, road rage or airline rage and seizures. The result of understimulation may be hopelessness, depression, resentment, and a lack of motivation. So, do you see why it's so important to be able to regulate this system so you can stay mentally strong and keep going? This might also give you some idea about why you might be feeling the way you are right now, okay? So, pulling all of that together, let's go straight into 3 habits that I recommend to my career change clients. And they are how to build resilience, but specifically with a view to how to keep going with your career change, with your business. So here they are. Number 1, practice perspective taking. Number 2, do things that make you feel safe. And number 3, schedule resilience. So number 1 is very much just pulling together everything we talked about so far, is that it's so important to be aware of what you make things mean and therefore how you respond to them. So perspective taking, due to the elasticity in our brain, we have this ability to train our brain to become more resilient by trying out different points of view. And to do with resilience, that's especially reinforcing those beliefs and behaviors that put you back in the driving seat, gives you back the power over the things that you do control, i.e. that response of yours. So if you are finding it really hard right now and you are seeing COVID-19 more as a threat, here's my challenge to you. How about taking a different perspective? How about changing your mind about how you want to interpret it? How about looking at it? Even just try this on for size. Adopt a different point of view with a focus on developing and strengthening your locus of internal control. Because here's what I see happening. A lot of people are looking for meaning in a lot of the really unhelpful places right now to try to fill in the blanks. Ooh, stress scrolling on Instagram. Ooh, there's the newest death number. Ooh, all the jobs are going. Ooh, all the businesses are going. Blah, blah, blah. You know, is that helpful? No, because it's literally you are quickly giving your power away. Now, just like the captain, you clearly need to know the lay of the sea, you know, what's going on, and then take action accordingly. But here's the thing, it's so important to be aware of whether the perspective you're taking is helping you, because are you coming at it just to confirm your fears, or are you coming at it just to know the minimum you need to know to stay alive, and then quickly move into looking at the opportunity, the challenge, the growth opportunities? So here's a quick way of finding out if you really right now maybe have more an external locus of control. Ask yourself, what do you currently believe is impossible right now because of COVID-19? Are you telling yourself that you have to put your life and dreams on hold, you'll never get another job again, or you'll never be able to start a business, or nobody's going to ever want to see your CV again, or now, you know, you'll never be able to travel again, or whatever? I'm sure you can fit in a lot of blanks here, right? But what if you were to change perspective? And how can you help your prefrontal cortex more accurately assess the situation? You know, what if you move from stop seeing it as a threat and as an attack, and actually instead asking, actually, what is COVID-19 making possible that wasn't possible before? And also, how could I make this the best thing that ever happened to my new business, to my career change, to my life full stop? There are a lot more helpful questions to ask. So at the moment, I've been obviously asking this to my clients, and some of the questions that are coming out, you know, turning this into opportunity is, one of my clients literally said to me, Rikke, she had some issues in her family life with people, you know, getting ill, catching the virus, all of that. And she was like, this is really teaching me right now that life is short. It's too short not to create work that you love. It's too short for me to spend in this really toxic environment. She's going all in right now with her business. Literally in the space of a week, we managed to put together a test driving phase for her new program that she's already getting clients in for to test drive with her. She's recorded videos, recordings, and literally she's just taking this energy to go, okay, not because, you know, she's at home and she's got time, and she's just using all this what could otherwise be quite a scary time to really funnel energy into that. Another client that I have is literally who's very exhausted right now, but she's taking this time at home to really build her network relationship and actually reskilling in some of the skills she learned at her MBA that she hasn't used for a while. And she really want to make sure she's got the vocabulary, the training, so when she starts going on for interviews, she's going to feel ready and confident. So also think about it right now, you are able to work from home. Maybe what you're learning about yourself is like, yeah, you do never ever want to go and do an armpit commute again. You want to start an online business. Or maybe what you're realizing is that actually, maybe your job wasn't that bad at all. Now that or your career wasn't that bad at all, because now you don't have to deal with the toxic boss, the armpit commute, the toxic culture. Actually, your career path is okay. You just need to find a different company or a different job, or maybe freelance. You know, just be aware of everything that COVID-19 is making possible. This is like, again, that's another crash course in learning about what you like, what you don't like, deciding what you never want to touch with a barge pole again, what you might, you know, how to recalibrate everything. Don't take this as a personal attack. Get into problem-solving mode. Like I said, this does not mean that you don't look at the hard facts and the medical info and the market, all of that stuff. Sailor wants to know the conditions and recalibrate, right? You're still doing that, but you're understanding how your brain works and the importance of bringing it back into homeostasis rather than over and under stimulating it. Are you finding this helpful already? I hope you do. This is probably one of the habits that you want to implement right away. take some time after this to actually sit down. What is COVID-19 making possible? And how can I make this the best thing that happened? I.e., finally, I'm going to do this because I will create the meaning for me in this new world, for the work that I do and how I am in the world. That is the most meaningful response, I would argue. Don't worry if you think, oh my God, I'm so exhausted right now. How am I going to do all this? That's where we get to habit number 2. Habit number 2 is to do things that make you feel safe. Because that's in short supply right now, right? Do things that make you feel safe. Like you probably noticed during my neuroscience geekery quotation, is that nervous system regulation is a key part of developing resilience. Not over or understimulating, but rather working on that homeostasis. So I don't know about you, but a lot of my clients are overthinkers or overwhelmers. So right now, a lot of people, because they're trying to inform themselves, they are potentially over-scrolling or over-information craving, or that just means you're literally hypersensitized, finding it hard to sleep. Even though you don't want to look at the news, you're looking at the news because you're trying to find information and all of that. So right now, you're probably really geared up and finding it hard to calm down because you're stuck inside. So it's even more important to do things that make you feel safe. And again, that's back to taking your power back and choose how to respond. This is an important concept. One of my dearest friends, Darren Abrahams, he's also a trauma therapist. He's one of the people I've learned so much from as a friend over the years. And he's so good at what he does. And he knows I'm that kind of hit person too, very, intello-based, very in my head. And I remember he said to me one day, he's like, Rikke, you need to feel safe to be daring, and you need to learn to regulate your nervous system actively on a daily basis, because you just if not, you'll just get too stressed out and you go into a head spin. So here's how I personally do it and what I recommend my clients do. And I could talk about this for ages, but I want to give you something really concrete. So one of the most important things you can do is to insert habits into your day that help you get out of your overthinking, overstimulated head and into your body and make you feel safe. Because so much of the time, have you noticed, we are kind of the source of our own stress scroll. So it's important that you insert things and habits into your life that make you feel safe and that help you tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest. This is such a big part of being sustainable. Right? I'm talking about this being sustainable. That's how you will be able to keep going, because you keep replenishing. You also rest, you take care of yourself. And I think that's so the missing piece in a lot of conversations about career change and entrepreneurship. On the one hand, you got the ones who are like, oh, you just got to take it easy and it'll happen, versus the kind of like Gary Vee, like, oh, you just got to hustle and grind. And no. You just got to stay smart with it, be in control, keep going, but remember to rest and make yourself feel safe. All right? I'll get off my high horse there. So one of the most important ways of making yourself feel safe is thinking about how you start your day. So here's what I recommend. I'll tell you what I do. So I literally just take a couple of minutes every morning, making sure that the first thing I do when I wake up is something that makes me feel safe. I.e., I don't grab that weapon of mass distraction that is the phone. That's not the first thing that I do. I will get out of bed, and in front of my bed, I have a beautiful sheepskin rug, curly whirly, soft one that I literally get into my body. I just put my feet on it and I just feel that beautiful rug. Then I walk into my kitchen, and then I brew a cup of high-grade Japanese sencha fukamushi from Cummins tea. If you are a tea geek or coffee geek, you know what I mean. It's such a sensual experience. It might be whatever else that you like to eat or drink, but I prepare it. I have this little tea ritual. I smell the tea. I drink it. I get out of my head and into my senses. I open the window. I moved to the seaside a couple of years ago. You might have seen that on Instagram. I'm the Rikke Hansen over there. I got a beautiful sea view. I open the window, and I take 3 deep breaths and I just enjoy my tea and I feel safe. Sometimes I might read a little bit of a book, not one of those that I end up reading all day, but just uplifting, positive, that make me feel safe. And then I get on with my day. I might do another morning ritual. I might do other things. But I want you to think about, what could you do when you wake up right now? And also in general, this is something I've always recommended for my clients, but to make you feel safe from the very moment you wake up. So you own the day from the moment you actually get up. This could also be something to suggest for your kids, right? That's, I think, the most important one. Then throughout the day, it's also important that you just give yourself a break and remind yourself you have a body and just calm down a little bit. So rather than going straight onto social media or grab your phone, what about something like just a 5-minute guided relaxation? I mean, even when I've been super stressed, I just do just 3 minutes meditation. I do this open-eyed meditation that a Navy SEAL taught me, because often if you're someone who's a lot in your head, an open-eyed meditation where you literally just stare at a wall for 3 minutes can be really helpful, so you don't think, whatever it is, but little things throughout the day, restorative yoga, whatever, but stuff that actually taps into your parasympathetic nervous system. I'll also tell you one of my favorite for the evenings. My husband and I, we recently started this thing we call the bonfire, the campfire bonfire rituals. If you think about it, what's one of the things that we as humans have done for thousands of years that make us feel safe, that made us feel part of something? We would gather around a bonfire and we would listen to stories. So what we do is we light a candle that's not religious at all. I'm Danish, so it's just a hygge, right? You will have the candle. But the reason why you light the candle is you look at that candle and meanwhile you listen to an audiobook to recreate this bonfire thing. And if you are someone like, for example, throughout the day, a lot of what I read is psychology, neuroscience, Dostoevsky, heavy shizzle. So in the evening, at least a couple of days a week, what I try is more of a lighter book. So things like Neil Gaiman, Philip Pullman, but I especially choose an audiobook that is like a performance. So it's really beautifully performed, and it just makes you feel safe and good and really absorb yourself in the story. If you haven't listened, Philip Pullman, Northern Lights, his Dark Materials. You can even listen, depending on the age of your kids, with them as well. And he has Michael Sheen reading it, and it's just beautiful. It just makes you feel so appreciative. You look into the candle so you don't fall asleep. Okay, so make you feel safe. Whatever your ritual is going to be, do things throughout the day that regulate your nervous system, that make you feel safe. Yoga, meditation is what everybody else suggests. I just want to give you 2 things that you might not have thought about, okay? And again, this is also a great way to connect with your kids, for those of you who have them at home. Number 3 is schedule resilience. I always said to my clients, so what does your resilience schedule look like this week? Because a lot of people are also kind of understimulated when it comes to doing hard things, right? So what I've noticed over the years, when people, they get to the stage where they want to change careers, they want to start their own business, they want to, go through a transition, then if they haven't really had a lot of adversity in their life, or things have been easy, or they've been in this scenario where they hate their job and then they go home and veg, they don't really do hard things because they're just trying to recover from that job they hate, then maybe you aren't in the habit of doing hard things, that job you hate aside. So one of the things that are really important is that you get into the habit of scheduling hard things in your calendar, sort of little doses on a weekly basis. That's what I mean. A little bit like, a vaccine. You just insert maybe 1 or 2 hard things every week in your calendar, whether, that's you getting used to reaching out, making new friends in a new field, or networking, whether it's you getting used to making sales calls, whether it's you getting used to putting your idea forward, just getting out of your shelf, reaching out, whatever it is that is a key habit to develop in order to change your career or start a business or change your business. What is it that you can do? So for example, with one of my clients right now, her challenge is to schedule at least 3 Skype teas with some of her INSEAD peeps that she went to do her MBA with, 8 years ago. So she's scheduling that. She knows it's in the calendar. She's going to have to do it. Another, my client is literally just scheduling speaking up in meetings right now, at least twice. That's scheduled in the calendar as well, what meetings there are going to be. That's how she's developing more of an ability to speak up for herself. Some people, it might be how many sales calls are you going to do? What is it that you're committing to do? That's to do more with career change and business, but you also want to do it in other areas. You don't just want to build your resilience muscle in, just purely with your career change, purely with your business. You also want to do it in other areas. One of the things that I recommend right now that works really well is to schedule hard things. That could, for example, be something like 3 times a week, you find a live online fitness class that you go to, you pay up front and you commit to turning up. Something magical happens when you actually turn up and you participate, because you learn to develop trust in yourself that you are someone who keeps your promises to yourself. That's also a way of becoming more confident, by the way. Because what I know, have you noticed that when you sign up for something and don't turn up, it's kind of like a little bit of a stab wound over time. You just stab. So one way to develop resilience is to find a couple of relatively hard things to do, and then put them in your calendar, sign up for them, and then do them. Do what you promised yourself you do. Does that make sense? I'm sure you know something that you can take on right now that you knew you kind of already should be doing or ought to be doing to, keep doing hard things, committing to your dreams and showing up when you said that you would on a more regular, consistent basis. Ta-da! That is how momentum is built. Here's the thing. A lot of us were way too comfortable in our lives before all of this happened. So maybe we didn't feel like doing hard things, but now's your chance to do it. This is a real life boot camp in resilience. And here, my friend, remember, time spent developing resilience is always well spent. It is one of the most important skills, both right now and going forward. So give yourself the gift of allowing yourself to do hard things. Just remember to also do things that make you feel safe. The mental side of career transition and anything else is just key to get right. And here's what I also would say. Remember, if you are feeling overwhelmed or confused about your career or your business right now, this is a really great time to figure out what kind of recalibration needs to happen for you. Do you need to change stuff within your existing job? Do you need to change to a different job? Do you need to change careers? Do you need to start a business, and which of your business ideas to go for, and how can you make it ideal for these times and all of that? If you need help with any of that, now you have time to do it. So if you want professional help with that and you like what you're hearing, come over to rikke.me/options. So rikke.me/options and read about how I can help you. You do not have to do this alone. You have time right now, and this is the time to get clarity around it, okay? So let me know if you're liking this recording, if you're finding it helpful. I so want you to feel that this is something that is going to help you so much, and you got something you can tap into right away. Also, remember, how can I help you? What do you want me to talk more about? I want to help. I want to be loud. I am not going to stay quiet. I want to help you. You don't have to go this alone, all right? You and I want to be role models and help the entire world in the process. So I'm over at rikke.me. That's rikke.me. You can also email me. So let me know what your most burning questions are. I'll answer the most frequently asked ones. So let me know. I'm sure you got a number of friends, family who needs to hear this message, who want this practical advice, who needs to hear this message of hope. So please feel free to share it. Also, let me know over on Instagram what you think. I would love to connect. Thank you so much for listening. I am sending you the biggest possible virtual hug. We're still allowed to do that. Now go do one thing right now that makes you feel safe. And then think about what you want this to mean in a way that's going to empower you and enable you to keep going. Thank you.